Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Legacy Leaders. Scott McMeans is joined today by Cinid Englefield from Accelerating Angels. She is the co-founder and CEO, and I'm going to let her give a little bit more detail on what that organization is all about. As we get into the conversation today, you're going to note there's a lot of really good, for I would like to say, DNA in Cindy's background. She was born and raised to be an entrepreneur. She has a really interesting mindset towards leadership. So we're going to talk a lot about leadership. We're going to talk about how you can tap into the mindset of creating leaders and allowing them to tap into their own resources. So without further ado, the microphone and camera are turned over to you, Cindy.
Mm.
Introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your story.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad to be with you all. I'm I'm self-proclaimed serial entrepreneur and business advisor, mentor to many now. After being raised in an entrepreneurial family and having my own company for 20 years, and now able to help other focus. Most of my later part of my career after selling my business has been focused on helping women entrepreneurs get their companies up and running and grow, and now recently with Accelerating Angels, getting their companies funded, and mostly because the statistic that is pretty well known out there that only 2% of venture capital goes to female-founded companies by venture capital. So uh, that number kind of shocked me into saying, well, let's see if we can't pull some money
Mhm.
together and get some more money available to women who are smart, have great ideas, and they're solving some of the big problems we see in the world. So that's just kind of briefly, the
No, it's
gamut
great.
of
That,
where I'm at today.
I love it. And from memory from our first conversation, you targeted specifically the female owner because, again, only 2%, which is an astonishingly low figure. I would never have thought it would be that low. 2% goes from VC money goes into female ownership. So you targeted this space and you said they're smart, they're problem solvers, and they have great ideas. What are the other reasons why you wanted to tap into the female space? Because if I remember correctly, we had a really good, robust conversation about it. So I want the audience to hear some of your
Yeah.
background and thoughts on it.
Yeah, well, statistically, they outperform their male counterparts by 63%. They give their investors 35% higher returns, and they create great business cultures. They're really efficient with our investment dollars. They make the money go further, and really efficient with every round of funding that they receive. So to me, it's a good bet putting women-led companies in our portfolio. So
So why do you think it is a 63% outperformance and a 35% increase in returns? What is it about the female business owner that yields those kind of returns?
well, I think we've learned that we have to work twice as hard to get where we need to go. We're kind of young in business. I mean, it was 1988 or something in the 1980s when were able to make our first, get our first business loans without a male counter signature. Or either our husbands or even our sons had to co-sign for us to get a business loan. So, we don't aren't we're kind of new to business, business ownership. It's growing. There's more and more CEOs out there every
Mhm.
year. But I just think we have to work harder, and we also manage a lot because we're still sometimes responsible for both at home and being part of this what they call the sandwich generation. Sometimes it's our elderly parents and your children and growing a company. So you
Yeah.
have to be efficient.
No, I like that. There's an efficiency with being the one soul or the one focal point of both business and personal life and being able to pull all those strings to make things work. It definitely has an advantage when you have a little bit of experience in that space. The
Mhm.
the idea that there is only 2%. So there's a lot of opportunity for you to work with this section of business. How do you
Mhm.
identify people? And how do people come to you and present their case in order to help, or in order to get the funding that'll help them out? How does that work for you?
Well, I'm really well networked within the Angel Capital Association with other angel groups, and we do a lot of syndication and share deals. And so, if we have a certain focus, whether it's, clean tech or insure tech or fintech or whatever, any specialty that different groups kind of like to invest in, I happen to and have a women-led. I'm industry agnostic, but can't say that word. Uh, but we want to have a woman with the women running it because we know she will run it efficiently. We want her to own 30% or more equity. And so when people find out about, what our thesis is, we get a lot of referrals. And I'm out, scouting companies. I'm looking for, great women-founded companies and doing, solving some of the big problems, whether it's environmental problems or they call it femtech. So some of the women issues that women might see as problems in the world with our own health. A lot of
Mm,
research, has gone into how medications work in the male anatomy, but not so much comparing it to how it works in the female anatomy. So, I mean, I'm learning a lot as I learn. I talk to these companies, and they're teaching me all kinds of information that are problems that really need to be solved, whether
yeah.
it's whatever it is. But a lot of smart entrepreneurs out there that are, and it's not that we invest in 100% equity in a woman-owned company. We want the right people in the right seats in the
Okay.
company. So, we welcome men in as investors and men in the C-suite along with the females that are leading these companies.
Well, that's a good indication of you recognize not everybody, no matter how talented they are, not anybody can do this alone, right? So
Yeah,
you need assistance, you need help, you need somebody that can help guide you, whether it's your organization or members of their team. Everybody has to come together to pull this to
yeah,
make it work, right? One thing I
absolutely.
want to just touch base on, you said you're industry agnostic. I can appreciate that. Is there one area that you've identified that over the last so many years that is really getting a lot of attention within the female CEO or ownership world? Is there one business, like you said, the femtech? So I'm
Yeah.
curious, what is it that kind of pops to the surface of this is where a lot of our funding goes to? This is where we're seeing a lot of activity.
Well, there's a company we've invested in that's tackling some of the issues of menopause.
Okay.
There's women that are tackling in the environment, like water bottles, trying to get, the landfills not to fill up with plastic
Yeah.
water bottles. And we have a woman that we invested in that has an adhesive for electronics. We have people that are women that are we just talked to a company that has a pump that helps flush out stents in brains
Oh, wow.
uh, stents. Um, Catheters that have to be inserted into a brain. I mean, there's amazing, smart women that are solving some of these big issues, whether it's medical. We invest in a lot of software companies, medical device companies, and like I said, manufacturing. AI is good. We have a lot of really smart women that are tackling the AI. Trying to incorporate that into manufacture or into
Yeah.
any corporations and how to use AI within their companies. So yeah, all kinds of nothing really in that we're not industry specific. All kinds of companies are coming to us from. I mean, we've even had some fintech companies founded by women. So it's all over there. There's smart people out there, and they're finding that they can grow big companies,
Yeah.
and we're investing in that early stage when those ideas are starting to take off and they're in the growth stage.
Okay. So I want to get back to leadership. What is the criteria or what is the the focal point or something that splashes off the screen when you're talking to somebody that lets you realize this is somebody we should back, regardless of the product or service that they have. We want to invest in this person because they have the following leadership qualities or the following leadership traits. Is there anything, Cindy, that you look at when you're meeting somebody that really jumps off the page?
Well, yes, when we look at the team pretty heavily when we're looking at whether to make an investment or not. And several things come to mind. One, experience. Have is this their first
Sure.
company, or have they had multiple companies or multiple startup experiences? And then who have they put in the seats next to them? I
Mhm.
think, part of being a leader is realizing that you don't know it all, and you need to have people smarter than you around the table to fill in some of those deficiencies that you have and that know-how. So we look for who they have on their advisory board, as well as who they've taken on investments from, what kind of groups they've have as co-investors with us.
Mhm.
And also, who's doing that, who's their chief technology officer, who's their COO, who's running the operations along with the CEO.
Yeah. Okay. So leadership is always one of those topics that people say, oh, that person's a born leader, right? Do you believe somebody can be trained to be a leader, or is it simply they're born that way? What's your thought?
Well, in my own personal example, my father was my role model in leadership, and he started Englefield Oil Company in 1961 with two service stations where they checked under the hood, the mechanic in the garage, and um, and from there, as my brothers were groomed to go into the business, and I, of course, am involved as a stockholder and board member. And but one of the things he instilled in me and my brothers were really to, put the customer first.
Yeah.
And um, and so he always bent over backwards for the customers that came in. And not only that, but the employees, the people that work for him. He took very good care of his employees. And so, I think those are some of the things that I, practiced when I launched my publishing business, to make sure that I hired good people and that I took good care of them. I gave them, some profit sharing. I did, just really took care of them and made sure that they took care of our customer. So it kind of gets filtered down. And of course,
Hmm.
from there, you also want to take care of your community. So that was another core value I think my father passed down as you give back and support your community, those less fortunate than you, and children and women, children, and hunger and all the issues, the
Sure.
medical issues and things that we can help with our communities.
Well, I will tell you, very simple 3-point play on how to be an amazing business leader. Put your customers first, empower your employees to be the autonomous, authoritarian that
Mhm.
can do things, and then make sure you get back to your community. If you can accomplish those three things, I think you're going to be doing pretty well
Yeah.
as a business owner, right? And it's interesting that not too many people take advantage or install that kind of mindset into their business. Why do you think people in business don't pay attention to this simple philosophy? And I'm not diminishing it. I think the brilliance of it is, Cindy, it is so simple to think about. If I take care of my team, and I give them the authority to do the things, the autonomy to go out and be successful, and I teach them the right way to do things, they're going to be amazing employees. They'll take care of my customers because customers come first. And then at the end, we'll take care of our community. Very simple approach. What do you think from your experience? What have you found that people don't want to do that as a business owner? Why do they overcomplicate it?
I really don't know, but I mean, it goes, those are the values that I was raised
Yeah.
on. And it works. I've seen it work in my father's company, and I've seen it work in my own company. I have a really good friend, Kara Trott, who is the founder of Quantum Health in Columbus. and she just wrote a book called No One Alone, and she is a great example of how to take a company from, a dozen employees to now worth over $1 billion and still keep that midwestern
Hmm.
customer first. And she calls her people that answer the phone. It's a medical support company, so she calls them her warriors, and they're the ones out there fighting for patients' rights and helping patients navigate the medical system. And I mean, she's been able to keep that culture going, even though her growth is like she's probably got 2,400
Yeah.
employees now. So, I like to surround myself with people like that. So I don't know.
Hmm.
I mean, I know there's bad actors out there in the business world, but I kind of surround myself with people that think like me. The
Hmm.
Women Presidents Organization I was a member of, and the National Association of Women Business Owners. I found a lot of support as a woman CEO, kind of because people that are kind of tackling some of the same issues of managing and growing a company and a family at the same time. And then, growing beyond that with our businesses and growing them together. So I feel like that was really supportive. But yeah, I surround myself with those kind of people, so I
No,
can't relate to doing it the other way.
and that's fine, and that's what's making you successful because when you take on these investment opportunities, I'm assuming that you take on people that have a very similar core value to what you're trying to do, and
Mhm.
it makes it easier to have conversations because they get it, right?
Yep.
It would be like trying to get, and I love the example of Albert Einstein says, if you're trying to judge a fish by how well it climbs a tree, it'll never be successful, right? So judge somebody on what they're capable of. But if you're asking them to do something they're not willing to or don't feel comfortable doing, or their values do not align, then you're
Mhm.
never going to find that person's success. So I love the idea, and I do this a lot with my clientele is really pushing the value of the company. Like, what are our values? What do we stand for? What will we not stand for? I use the example of the difference between a nice guy and a good man. A nice guy goes along to get along. He'll do what you ask him to do. He's always willing to do something, but he's not necessarily somebody that stands for one thing or another. While a
Mhm.
good man has standards and he
Mhm.
always upholds those standards. He knows what he stands for and he knows what he will not put up with. At the end of the day, when push comes to shove, a good man is not a nice guy. And I love that quote. I love that thought process because that's how businesses should really stand up for themselves. And I think we lose a lot when we're chasing shiny objects, in particular pennies or dollars, and we
Right.
lose sight of what our business stands for. So one of the first things that I love to do is look for the value a business has. And I'm not talking about the financial value. I look
Mhm.
for what are their values? What do they stand for?
Right.
And what are they going to do in the marketplace when push comes to shove? And one of the things that I think you read into this, or you believe in this too, because we talked about it, but um, if one of your values is so strong to you and it is a competitive disadvantage and you still uphold it, that is a really strong value. And you should never deviate from it,
Mhm.
even though it's a competitive disadvantage. Because eventually, the people that think the way you do and want to work with you, they'll be attracted to you because of the values you stand for.
Yep.
And that just gives you a different opinion of the marketplace around you. If I am attracting the people that want to be around me, it makes it easier for me to do the job I'm doing because now the people I work with, the people I serve, and the people that supply me are all living and breathing in the same value mindset. So it's
Mhm.
easy to do business with them. I want people to think about that a little bit more than just, well, I can get it over here because it's cheaper. No, you gotta get it where it aligns to you. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, one of the things we look for in companies is, what's their value proposition? What are they selling? Not just a product, but what's your value proposition? So definitely agree with that.
Yeah,
And as a founder, a CEO of your own organization, you need to be true to your core values. Your personal values have to align with your leadership for your company, and
yeah.
that's definitely. Um, a focal point for my organization. And
Sure.
as I'm growing a new organization now, 20 years in a publishing business, and now another startup
Yeah,
launching Accelerating Angels and our foundation to try to support women founders and get them funded and help them learn how to ask for funding and get the confidence that they need to succeed.
it's huge. The idea that you're able to stay true to who you are and what you're trying to get done, I love it. So let's tap into if because I don't qualify for being a woman CEO. Okay. But if I'm in the audience and I want to get a hold of you and I want to submit something, how do I do that? And two, what are like I want to go through, we kind of went through the criteria, but what is it that you look for when it comes to a point where I can make a difference by tapping into the accelerating angels? How do I go about do that? One, and what are you looking for in a candidate? Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes. Well, we welcome anybody to join Accelerating Angels as a member or invest in our fund. Um, we decided to do a fund so that we would pool our money together and be able to write bigger checks for women than the one-off small checks that, you can do as an individual, better together type of thing. And so we have an angel fund. Fund one is still open, and then a membership just getting involved. You can be anywhere in the United States, and we do a hybrid meetings and come and do our little Shark Tank meetings every other month and listen to two or three founders present and pitch. And then we have a due diligence process we go in for investment decisions. So that's more the investor side. And you could be an accredited investor or a non-accredited investor member. So because one of our core values is educating people on what is angel investing and how do you start doing it? How do you gain confidence in picking the right companies? And so we do that together. Our collective minds pick and choose the companies, and our expert tap into everybody's expertise, which makes it
Okay.
much better and easier, especially some of my advisors I bring in from different industries to look at deals, and that was very helpful. And then as far as a woman founder, our fund thesis is to have a woman with 30% or more equity, 100,000 or more in revenue, um, and need to have a revenue, they have to be raising, 500 to $2 or $3 million in an equity round, whether it's a preferred um, stock or if it's a convertible note. We invest in those type of vehicles as well. And I don't know, really have a pitch deck that is, you're prepared and you know your numbers and you know your market size, the opportunity that you could present to an investor that makes the deal attractive. And you have
Yeah.
a game plan, a business model, a financial model that works, and you would just kind of have all your ducks in a row. And then you'll be successful pitching to Accelerating Angels or any group.
Now, if I remember right, there was a dollar amount that you have available or that you're looking to put out in X amount of businesses. Is that still the same number? And if so, just go ahead and explain to the
Yeah, it's
audience
a $2
what the
million
numbers are.
dollar fund, and our average check size is $100,000 for a
Okay.
women-led company.
So
Yeah,
it's $2 million is the fund, and you give out $100,000 checks.
yeah. This is for our first fund, which is
Yeah.
always the hardest one to raise.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to having some success with some of our companies exit and give us some returns here in the next few years, and then start another fund and make sure that this organization keeps going so that women have access somewhere to come to and access capital.
If somebody's interested, how do they best get connected to you? Is
Well,
it
our
through the website?
website, yeah,
Yep.
website, acceleratingangels.com. And there's a contact form that comes directly to me. So me or my assistant, Catherine, and we'll get back with you and we'll answer any questions.
I love it. I love
Yes.
it. So all this put together, let me ask you,
Mhm.
if somebody gets involved and they get the funding and everything goes well, What's the expectation down the road? Are you going to be bought back out by the owner, or are you maintaining yourself as an investor in the business? What's the end game for Accelerating Angels?
Well, the end game is they exit and we get our return.
Okay.
And so, we do want them, the founders, to have a pretty clear path to an exit in 3 to 7 years. So it's we don't invest in lifestyle businesses that are going to pass down companies, their company to their children, because
Yeah.
we don't get
Okay.
an exit and we don't get a return on that. So it is really startups that are in high growth mode. They're going the equity. They'll go through angels, family and friends and family money, then angels, and then go to VCs and maybe be bought by a private equity company or a strategic buyer. So
Okay.
that's kind of the path that companies need to be on.
And I thank you for clarifying that. Because as a business coach, I ask people all the time, and it's crazy how many people don't have this. But what does your business look like when it grows up, right?
Hmm.
Do you
Yeah.
want to sell it for a bunch of money? Do you want to leave it for your children? Is it something that you feel is an annuity that you can let somebody else run, but you get the money? I
Hmm.
don't mind. We can build a plan to make that happen. But for you specifically, you're looking for in a 3 to 7 year window, we're going to have an exit strategy that means somebody is buying you. You
Yes.
get your return as an investor. They, as an owner of the original business with their 30% equity, get a return when they exit. Everybody's winning.
Yep.
And they would not be able to get to where they wanted to go without you. And you don't have a vehicle to invest in without them. So it's a really good mutual relationship, which is perfect for anybody trying to grow a business. They need an angel investor like yourself. So it's a really good relationship. So thank you for explaining it.
Yeah. Yeah, we work
Good
with
stuff.
our founders too. After we've invested in them, we try to open doors and make introductions and sit on their boards or be a board observer or be on their advisory board to help them because
Yeah,
they could tap into all of our investors with all their experience and all our advisors. So we look to help our companies, not just invest and wait for the return.
perfect. And that's what we're looking for. People that actually have access to capital and access to a better word, assets, right? That they
Mhm.
can use to make themselves better. You won't believe it, but we are 30 minutes in already. It goes by so fast, does it?
Yeah.
I like to always ask one last question. So I know you have a very different path than most, but I'm going to ask you, if I put you in a time machine and sent you back and you had a chance to meet 18-year-old Cindy,
Mhm.
what would that conversation sound like?
Well, she certainly wouldn't be as confident
Okay.
about business or as knowledgeable. And really, that's where this 18-year-old girl, the path that my life has led, I feel like everything, all the experiences I've had with, my family's business, my own entrepreneur experience, and it has led me to be doing what I'm doing right now. This kind of mission driven, passionate. I'm passionate about women in business and passionate about
Mhm.
getting capital into the hands of these worthy companies and worthy women founders. That's kind of where life led, but I wouldn't have imagined that when I was 18. No.
Well, I love your attitude, Cindy, because you believe you were put here for a reason, but you didn't know that reason until you had to travel your own journey's path, right? So
Absolutely. Yeah.
you got a chance to live and experience things that most people don't get. And through that experience, I'm going to turn around and put a hand out and pull as many women as I can up through my own journey so they don't have to go through those slings and arrows like you did, right?
Right.
That's a really nice thing to do. So I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us about it.
Yeah.
And if anything, I want as many women that possibly can get connected to you get connected. So that in mind, all the information you'll need will be in the description down below. And thank you, Cindy, for being a part of the show.
Yeah.
And we'll see everybody on the next episode.
Okay. Bye.